gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Stay Weird Network proudly brings you Cards Subject to Change with Hassel. This week, we're going to start a beginning of a two-parter, not one, but two-parter, of what if Sting and the Ultimate Warrior had swapped promotions. That's right, people. So as you know, in 1987, the Ultimate Warrior and Sting were part of the Blade Runners. They were tag teaming together. Then they went to Watts. Watts and Warrior couldn't get along. Warrior hauled ass to Vince in the WWF. Sting went to the Jim Crockett Promotions and the WCW NWA territory. But what if? What if they had went the opposite direction? What if Sting had went to the WWF and got the rocket strapped to his back? Because as you know, the Ultimate Warrior went to Vince. Vince strapped the rocket to him. Within about a 2-year span, he was a household name. He's putting Hogan on the map for the 1, 2, 3. Saturday Night Main Events, the works. He is there. Unfortunately, he does not pan out long term because he just does not have the drive, the ethic, and whatnot, because he was trained by people like Hogan there. So what if he goes to WCW and Jim Crockett Promotions and gets to learn from the learning tree of Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, all of those guys over there, Kevin Sullivan, and Sting, who has the things that he doesn't have, goes to the WWF. What if? So let's start. So as you know, both went in 1987, late 87, they done their thing. So we're going to start with part one. And part one will be what if Sting filled the role of Ultimate Warrior in the WWF. So, just like Warrior, he would go to the WWF in 87. He'd have a series of squash matches, enhancement matches, if you will. He would have these enhancement matches to kind of get the people acclimated to who he is in the later part of 87 and moving into 88. But what if SummerSlam 1988, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, Honky Tonk Man, is in the ring, and he hits us with that line. You know the line I'm talking about. Just get me anybody out here. And then we hear that guitar riff start strumming. And because Warrior's not there, I'm going to say, what if Sting got the same music? There was nothing identifying that made it be Warrior. It was nothing more than face paint music. A la Sting gets the unstoppable, unbreakable, whatever you want to call it. He gets it. You hear it strumming, and out comes Sting. Now, Sting doesn't have to run to the ring like an idiot. I'll give him that. He has charisma, but he gets to the ring pretty fast. What if Sting gets to the ring pretty fast? He starts with a series of chops, punches, and kicks the way Sting does. Clean in the house. Throws the Honky Tonk Man into the corner. Stinger splash. 1, 2, 3. Then we get those infamous words from Howard Finkel, and we all know how they go. And new Intercontinental Champion, Sting. What if? What if for the remainder of the summer, Sting was to go and battle the Honky Tonk Man a little on and off, till he finally lays the Honky Tonk Man to rest. But he did give him a rematch, something we didn't see back in the day. You didn't get a lot of those rematches back in the day. But what if he did? What if his next feud was none other than a former Intercontinental Champion, and a great one at that? A man who was in the twilight by this point, but he still had some name recognition. What if Greg the Hammer Valentine was the man to challenge Sting next, moving into the later part of the year? Now, this will be a short-lived feud, with Sting coming out victorious, without a doubt. But what if then, moving into the 1989 Royal Rumble, we're down to the final three. It's Sting, Hogan, and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Well, obviously, Ted's going to try to buy off Sting because he knows he can't buy off Hogan. He's had his run with Hogan. He knows. But he says every man has a price, but not Sting. Sting tosses the $1 Million Man over the top rope. Well, before Sting can turn around, DiBiase pulls a Sid Justice on him. He gets his attention. Hogan scoops him up, throws him out. Hogan is your winner. But, Sting is starting to become somebody. Him and DiBiase feud to the back. But it doesn't end there. 2 weeks later, on Superstars, Sting will be attacked by DiBiase and Andre the Giant, with Jake the Snake Roberts making the save. Coming down to the ring to the Stinger's aid, the Intercontinental Champion and Sting, the Intercontinental Champion, and Jake the Snake Roberts. I apologize, people. It's been a long day. They would go about feuding with Andre and DiBiase, leading into the next pay-per-view. However, DiBiase, he wouldn't want to sully his hands with the Stinger just right yet. What if he put none other than the 8th Wonder Earl of the world, Andre the Giant, in the ring with Sting? Okay, we've seen some Warrior and Andre matches, but let's be honest, Sting is a far more accomplished wrestler than what the Ultimate Warrior was. What if on this fateful night that they're in the ring with one another, the former 8th Wonder of the world, the baddest man there was back then, he gets gorilla slammed all the way much bigger than what Hogan did to him back in the day, and Stinger puts the splash on him. Now, Sting's not going to put the Scorpion Deathlock onto the Andre. Let's just be honest. That's not happening, people. Even with fantasy booking, it's not happening. But, couple splashes, couple chops, off the top rope. 1, 2, 3. Sting goes over on Andre. Now, this would be a major win and feather in the cap for the Stinger back in the day. DiBiase would not be happy with this. DiBiase would jump in the ring, and him and Virgil will put the boots to the good old Stinger as it goes. Then, what if on All American Wrestling the next week, it's none other than Randy Macho Man Savage. Oh yeah, the Macho Man, who would be going on to face the Hulkster at WrestleMania that year because he's just freshly turned on Hogan. What if during this night here, it's a one-on-one champion versus champion non-title contest just for the fans? What if during this contest, Sting starts getting the upper hand on the Macho Man? Hogan's going to make his way ringside, of course, because the $1 Million Man's down there also. He's going to make his way ringside. A whole lot of shenanigans. But what if Macho Man, with the help of the $1 Million Man, Andre and Virgil, gets the dub on the Stinger, pinning the Stinger for the very first time? Non-title matchup, but it's enough. But what if at some point in time he says, you know what, Stinger? You ain't Hogan. Me and you got no beef. You got my respect. What if? What if during that night, when the $1 Million Man jumps in the ring with Andre and Virgil and goes to putting the boots to him, the Macho Man steps in and says, I'm going to make a royal proclamation. He's a few months away from being a king as it is anyways. He makes a royal proclamation. Get away. Leave him alone. I got him. What if? It'd be a crazy alliance, but not really an alliance at the time. Because we know that the Macho Man is going to go forth. He's going to face Hogan. He's going to become the Macho King. Sting's not going to allow him with things of this nature. But it's still not unheard of to have a heel's respect. What if? What if going into WrestleMania, you have a good feud back and forth with the $1 Million Man and Sting? Then at WrestleMania, Jack Tunney steps in and says, I've had enough of the $1 Million Man and this outside interference. This match can only be bought one way. A way in which the referee cannot be bought. A way in which no one can deny the winner. An I Quit submission match at WrestleMania. Sting and the $1 Million Man. And a great contest back and forth. But ultimately, Stinger putting in the $1 Million Man and the Scorpion Deathlock, getting him to squeal, I quit. What if? What if next on the agenda for the Stinger will be none other than the Ravishing One himself, Rick Rude. So, going into SummerSlam, it will be a great pose down after pose down. Sting and the Ravishing One going back and forth, tossing up matchups, just having a good old barn burner. But at the end of the day, let's face it, you have the Brain on the outside of the ring, Bobby the Brain Heenan. So in the matchup at SummerSlam, what if the Ravishing One, with the help of Bobby the Brain, puts the Rude Awakening on him, cranks down, 1, 2, 3, new Intercontinental Champion, the Ravishing One, Rick Rude. What if? What if 2 weeks later on Superstars, WWF President Jack Tunney says, we're going to make this right. Stinger, you get an Intercontinental Championship rematch at the Survivor Series. What if? What if at the Survivor Series, Sting rights the wrong? He gets the brain hoisted up above the ring in a cage to where he can't interfere this time. And then he rights the wrong and puts the Ravishing One in the Scorpion Deathlock, where he has no choice but to tap. What if? What if next on the agenda would absolutely be Sting declaring himself for the 1990 Royal Rumble? What if? What if when it comes down to the wire, once again, Sting and the Hulkster are in the ring across from one another? This time, though, Sting's back isn't turned. This time, what if DiBiase isn't distracting the Stinger? What if you hear the murmurs in the crowd and they're starting to chant for Sting? What if? What if during this contest back and forth, he tosses the Hulkster over the top rope, winning the 1990 Royal Rumble, declaring himself as the #1 contender for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania? What if? Now, this will be a great contest. Instead of Warrior and Hogan, there was a bit of a lackluster matchup. Sting at this point, he could go. Let's be honest, people. Sting had the chops. He could go. He could wrestle. Him and Hogan could have had a great contest at WrestleMania in 1990. What if Sting wins the matchup? After the matchup, you get the tease of the heel turn from Hogan, but no, he endorses the Stinger. What if? What if, over the course of the next few weeks, not only do you get the endorsement of the Hulkster, but he gets a familiar face. You hear that music, dun, 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 and the Macho Man also comes down, tipping his hat to the Stinger, the new WWF champion, and telling him, anytime you need somebody to watch your back, I got you. He just spent the last year as the Macho King. But what's to say at this WrestleMania he doesn't have a change of heart? He doesn't say, you know what, I'm back amongst the angels now. What if? What if that was what it took to keep him from being a heel for much longer than about a year and a half? It was nothing more than the Stinger. What if? What if at this point, moving into SummerSlam 1990, a re-emergence of a familiar feud strikes up? One of the few men to have actually beaten Stinger, the Ravishing One, Rick Rude, and tells him, Sting, I beat you for the Intercontinental Championship. I'm going to beat you for the WWF Championship. What if? What if they have an epic cage match at SummerSlam in which Sting narrowly escapes before the Rude gets out? What if? What if going into the next week on Superstars, we have a double cross? We have a venomous snake that decides to strike the Stinger. What if Jake the Snake Roberts, with the help of a chair bashed over the back of Sting, turns on the Stinger? Once allies, once friends, a snake is a snake, and it'll always bite you at the end of the day. That's just how it is, people. So what if Jake the Snake turned on Sting, striking him, hitting him with a chair, and then the DDT, one of the most deadliest moves in all of professional wrestling? What if? Could you imagine the image of the Stinger laying there, Damien crawling across him? What if? What if at this point you wind up seeing two guys show up that were initially brothers in paint to the Stinger? What if at this point the Legion of Doom goes to Sting and says, you know what? We were brothers in paint with the Warrior, and anybody that's a brother of the Warrior is a brother of ours. We got your back, Stinger. We got you watched. What if? So what if going in to Saturday night's main event, it's none other than Sting and the Legion of Doom versus Axe and Smash of Demolition and Jake the Snake Roberts? What if? What if going into this matchup, it's just a banger, a barn burner? At the end of the match, just as the good guys have the heels reel him, none other than a third member of Demolition shows up, Crush, outnumbering our heroes. What if? What if, at this point, a Texas tornado comes down the aisle and saves the day, leveling the playing field with a 4-on-4 contest? What if? Next, well, it would have to be the Survivor Series. So why would it not be logical for Sting, the Legion of Doom, and the Texas Tornado to form Sting's squadron and go against all three members of Demolition and Jake the Snake Roberts? What if? What if in another amazing matchup at Survivor Series, Sting's squadron comes out on top, eliminating all four members of Jake the Snake Roberts' team, finally laying to rest that pesky old snake and getting it done for the good guys? Unfortunately, around this time, our greatest American hero, the G.I. Joe himself, Mr. Sergeant Slaughter, turns heel. He becomes a dirty Iraqi sympathizer. Just filth, scum, a maggot, as he used to say. What if he challenges the Stinger the next week on Superstars, burning the Stinger's sequin jacket, just like he did Hogan's? What if? What if he challenges him to a match at the Royal Rumble? Sting's got to defend his nation. He's got to do it on his own. He's got to stand tall. He don't need no help. He's going to be the one to do it. What if? But what if at the Royal Rumble, when it's Sting versus the Sergeant Slaughter, the Iraqi sympathizer, what if the numbers are just too big for the Stinger? You got Colonel Mustafa, which is none other than the Iron Sheik, a former WWF champion on the outside. General Adnan out there. This is basically a 3-on-1 matchup. What if, when the ref is not paying attention, these guys bash Sting over the head with a title, allowing the Sergeant Slaughter to put Sting in the camel clutch? Sting is passed out. He can't defend himself. The ref thinks he's passed out from the pain when it's actually a title shot to the head. What if? Now we have a new WWF champion in Sergeant Slaughter. This doesn't sit well with the American people. This doesn't sit well with the Stinger. Sting comes out the next week on All American Wrestling and apologizes to all the fans and all the little Stingers he let down. Tells them how sorry he is. How he is better than that right there. He's going to make this right. At this time, Jack Tunney would also come down and say, Sting, you're right. You are going to make this right, because at WrestleMania, you will challenge for the WWF Championship against Sergeant Slaughter. What if? What if going into this contest, a star-spangled clad Sting comes down to the ring to challenge this dirty, scummy Sergeant Slaughter? What if? What if on this night, Sting, he does the job. He gets the chops. He gets the drop kick. He gets the Scorpion Death Lock. And then says, nope, not today. Scorpion Death Drop. Debuting the Death Drop years earlier. What if? What if on this night, the Stinger regains the WWF Championship for a second time? What if? There's so many different ways we can go after this. Sting and the Macho Man obviously have a hell of an alliance after this. They've had it before. They had, what's to say the Megamaniacs isn't Sting and the Macho Man? What if? What if they were to challenge none other than the Big Boss Man and Earthquake on multiple occasions? What if? What if Hogan was to turn heel in the WWF because he couldn't stand standing in Sting's shadow? What if? Obviously, Sting, he's being a franchise player. He's not one to jump ship. We know what he did with WCW. He wrestled in the very last WCW match. He went down with the ship. So he would obviously be loyal to Vince McMahon. So what if Sting stays with the WWF all throughout the golden era, into the new generation, into the attitude era, and finishes up in the ruthless aggression era? What if? These are the things we talk about here on Card Subject to Change. Next week will be part 2 as we tackle the Ultimate Warrior in WCW. We'll track his path and we'll align the two. And then, as a bonus, we will discuss what would have happened had these two stepped foot in the ring against each other after their twisted paths realign. What if? These are the things we tackle here because remember, the card is always subject to change.